What is acceptance and installation testing? Acceptance and installation testing, also known as user acceptance tests or customer tests, describe black box testing requirements that are determined by project stakeholders that the software system must conform to. Acceptance tests describe the criteria by which the customer determines whether the software system meets their needs and requirements. Acceptance tests are generally carried out prior to the customer installing the system. They should be fully automated so that they can run as part of the application's regression test suite. Mike Cohen, one of the contributors to the creation of Scrum, likes to call acceptance tests conditions of satisfaction. Here's an example of an acceptance test. Description: the customer search screen allows users to perform standard wildcard searches on first and last name. Setup: remove all customers from the database. Then, add the following customers: John Smith, James Doe, Robin Saunders, Jim Saunders, Sally Smith, Scott Davidson, Beverly Williams, Bob Roberts, Rob Williams, Robert Smithers, Bobby Snookerby, Sandy Davington, and Janice Sinters. Instructions: display the customer search screen. Then, enter percent lowercase o, lowercase b, asterisk in the first name field. Then, enter capital S, asterisk in the last name field. Lastly, press the search button. Expected results: the following names should be displayed in the search result box: Robin Saunders, Robert Smithers, and Bobby Snookerby. If the expected results are found by testing, then the test can be considered passed and the requirement has been met.
Doing a project by utilizing acceptance and installation testing can help mitigate a lot of problems. For example, by following acceptance and installation testing, you can ensure that you are building something that your customers will want because they are heavily involved in the process. They can help steer and guide the development process so that the end result is what they are expecting. This also helps if the customer realizes that the design is not what they were looking for, or if an additional feature needs to be added later on. Acceptance and installation testing helps ensure good communication between the developers and the client. As stated earlier, this helps ensure that the final product meets all the requirements the client is expecting. This also helps the developers out tremendously, since they are working side by side with the customer. The goal and requirements are generally well known and there is little ambiguity. This helps save on time and development costs. By doing tests and involving the customer in the design process, this also helps with identifying any potential problems and risks that could be associated with the design. Once again, this will help save development costs if these problems are caught early on in the design process. This will also help any minor issues with the design as well. A simple bug that is left uncaught for a long time could wind up costing the company a lot of money down the road. Acceptance and installation testing helps catch these issues early on. In the end, this will help the team create a high-quality product that has been designed with the user in mind, which will result in higher customer satisfaction. This will help keep maintenance costs of the product down as well, since everything was done correctly the first time. In summary, acceptance and installation testing will help your team develop a high-quality software product due to the fact that all the risks have been mitigated in testing and you are constantly working side by side with your client in each step of the development process.
The main disadvantages of acceptance testing include environment setup and deployment process, test planning and timing, and handling ambiguous requirements. Environment setup and deployment process. Running acceptance tests in the same environment as other parts of the test suite can prove costly. Testing various performance metrics might only be possible in an environment resembling the customer's, so a more production-like environment should be set up separately. It is also imperative that this testing setup is kept in line with the environment that is being used for deployment. Testing on anything other than the latest version of the software yields unusable results. Test planning and timing. Acceptance testing is carried out after development and immediately preceding release. Strict deadlines for deployment mean that any delay in development can result in rushed acceptance testing. It is vital to prioritize the testing of the most critical requirements and objectives first. Handling ambiguous requirements. When an ambiguous requirement is discovered during testing, it is important to log it as a defect and prioritize patching its fix or alteration into the product as soon as possible. If decisions on the requirement are not made immediately, it could result in a delayed or failed release.
We've talked about in this presentation what acceptance and installation testing is. We've talked about the advantages of it, and we've also talked about some of the disadvantages of it. Our recommendation is going to play towards the effectiveness of what acceptance and installation testing does. If the customer is the main focus of development, then this would be our recommendation to use acceptance and installation testing. If cost isn't as important, or maybe a bit of timing isn't as important, this can still work because the customer is going to be your main focus and your main goal. In this, the user is going to get a system that's more friendly because they are kept in mind by the developers. Communication is going to happen frequently between customer and the developers, and by doing this, the customer is going to get the system that they actually want. There's going to be less misunderstandings, and the developers are going to be able to know what the customer wants, and the customer can give their input back to the developers. We also recommend using it early and often. By using it early on, you can communicate better with the customer instead of towards the end of development when most of the things are already done. And doing this early on and often is going to help the development process comparing the system requirements to what you have. And so this is our recommendation for when the customer is your main focus. This is what we would recommend using.